The signal arrived on a rainy Tuesday in November, buried beneath the usual cosmic static that Dr. Isabella Torres had grown accustomed to filtering through. At first, she dismissed it as another false positive, the kind of ghost signal that had haunted SETI researchers for decades. But as she cross-referenced the data, her hands began to tremble. "Director Patel," she called out, her voice echoing through the empty observatory. "I need you to verify something." The pattern was unlike anything they'd ever encountered. A perfectly structured sequence of prime numbers, followed by what appeared to be mathematical constants that shouldn't be known to any Earth civilization. It wasn't just a signal. It was a declaration. "We are here, and we need help." Within hours, observatories worldwide confirmed the signal's authenticity. Within days, the source revealed itself. A massive ship, emerging from what their instruments could only describe as a tear in spacetime. The vessel was massive, easily the size of Manhattan, but what caught everyone's attention wasn't its size. It was its condition. The ship was dying. Massive sections of its crystalline hull had been torn away, revealing lattices of technology that defied human understanding. Streams of exotic particles leaked from its wounded sides, creating auroras visible from Earth's surface. It limped into lunar orbit, and humanity collectively held its breath. The first transmission came in a language of pure mathematics, gradually evolving into more complex communications as their systems learned to interface with human technology. The aliens called themselves the Nexari, and they were running from something that had already destroyed their civilization. Director Patel stood before the hastily assembled United Nations Security Council, with Isabella by his side. "The Nexari ship carries approximately 50,000 survivors," he explained, his voice steady despite the magnitude of his words. "They are all that remains of a civilization that once spanned hundreds of star systems. What could drive such an advanced species to our doorstep?" the Chinese representative asked, voicing the fear that gripped everyone in the room. The answer came from Ambassador Luminara, the Nexari representative whose holographic form shimmered with bioluminescent patterns. Her appearance was vaguely aquatic, with flowing tendrils that moved like underwater plants and skin that seemed to ripple with colors expressing her emotions. "We called them the Symmetrians," she explained, her translated voice carrying undertones of harmonic frequencies that made the human skin prickle. "They are beings of pure energy who believe that organic life is an aberration in the universe's perfect mathematical structure. They don't destroy civilizations. They correct them, converting all organic matter into energy patterns that match their concept of universal harmony." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had dreamed of first contact for generations, but not like this. Not with refugees bearing warnings of approaching doom. "Why Earth?" Isabella asked, speaking out of turn but unable to contain her curiosity. "With all the planets in the galaxy, why come to us?" Luminara's skin rippled with colors that the translation matrix interpreted as something between amusement and hope. "Because you are beautifully flawed. Your civilization is young, chaotic, unpredictable. To the Symmetrians, you are noise in their perfect equation. They would overlook you, at least for now. But we see something else in your imperfection. Potential." The days that followed were a whirlwind of diplomatic negotiations, scientific exchanges, and military planning. The Nexari offered access to technology centuries beyond human understanding, but with a warning. Advancing too quickly would only draw the Symmetrians' attention sooner. Isabella found herself working closely with the Nexari scientific team, helping them integrate their systems with Earth's more primitive but remarkably adaptable technology. What the humans lacked in advancement, they made up for in innovative applications and unconventional solutions. "Your people think differently," Luminara observed one night as they worked. "Where we see patterns that must be followed, you see patterns that can be broken. Where we built our civilization on mathematical perfection, you embrace chaos and find beauty in it. Is that why your people fell to the Symmetrians?" Isabella asked. "Because you couldn't think outside the pattern." The question hung in the air as luminous colors shifted to deep, contemplative blues. Perhaps we sought to perfect ourselves, to eliminate chaos from our existence. In doing so, we may have become too similar to those who now hunt us. But watching your people, watching how you embrace uncertainty, how you find strength in adaptation rather than perfection. The final weeks of preparation saw the completion of humanity's greatest gamble. The Chaos Network was fully deployed, turning the solar system into a quantum storm of unpredictability. The combined Earth defense fleet, led by the Prometheus, had mastered what they called chaos warfare, combat techniques that deliberately violated every rule of conventional space combat. Standing on the Prometheus's bridge, watching the final preparations, Naomi felt a strange calm. They weren't ready. Not really. But maybe that was their greatest strength. Combat systems online. Lieutenant O'Connor reported. All chaos generators functioning at maximum unpredictability. The Symmetrians expect perfect order. Naomi addressed her crew, human and Nexari alike. They're about to learn that the universe has other plans. Sometimes the best pattern is no pattern at all. As the countdown to contact entered its final phase, Earth's defenders prepared to teach an ancient enemy a lesson about the power of imperfection. The greatest battle in human history was about to begin, and humanity's greatest weakness was about to become its greatest strength. The time for preparation was over. The time for beautiful chaos was about to begin. Would you like me to continue with Part 4, where we'll see how humanity's preparations and strategies play out in the actual battle against the Symmetrians? The Symmetrians arrived with mathematical precision, their fleet arranging itself in perfect geometric patterns that seemed to mock the very concept of chaos. Their ships were works of abstract perfection, crystalline structures that moved with synchronized grace, each vessel identical to the last in every conceivable measurement. Commander Naomi Tanaka watched them approach on the Prometheus's main display, her expression calm despite the gravity of the moment. "They're beautiful," she admitted, in a terrifying sort of way. Perfect beauty is often terrifying. Technical observer Vex responded, his crystalline form pulsing with nervous energy. That's what we failed to understand until it was too late. The first transmission from the Symmetrian fleet came as a stream of pure mathematics, elegant equations that described the transformation they intended to bring to Earth and its inhabitants. Their message was clear. Resistance was not just futile, it was illogical. Humanity's response came in the form of a children's nursery rhyme, broadcast on all frequencies. The Symmetrian fleet paused, their perfect formation showing the first signs of disruption as their quantum processors attempted to find meaning in the seemingly random sequence of words and melodies. "Now," Naomi ordered, across the solar system, thousands of satellites activated simultaneously, each broadcasting its own unique pattern of chaos. Weather data, stock market fluctuations, random number sequences, and fragments of human music all merged into a cacophony of beautiful disorder. The effect on the Symmetrian fleet was immediate and stunning. Their perfect formations began to waver as their processors were overwhelmed by the flood of unpredictable data. Ships that had moved in perfect unison for millennia began to drift out of alignment. Launch Operation Butterfly. General Rodriguez commanded from Earth Defense Command. The human fleet moved into action, but not in any formation the galaxy had ever seen. Each ship followed its own random path, their movements based on everything from dance choreography to the flight patterns of insects. The Prometheus led the charge, its asymmetrical design and chaotic energy signature causing visible distortions in the Symmetrians' perfectly ordered energy fields. "They're trying to adapt," Raj reported from the Defense Institute, watching the battle unfold through quantum sensors. But their adaptation follows predictable patterns. They can only respond with variations of perfect order. The first direct engagement proved the effectiveness of humanity's strategy. When the Symmetrians fired their weapons, beams of pure energy that moved in perfectly straight lines, the human ships responded with seemingly erratic evasive maneuvers. Not a single shot found its mark. They can't predict what they can't understand, Naomi realized, watching the Symmetrians' perfect targeting systems fail again and again. And they fundamentally cannot understand chaos. The battle spread across the solar system, but it wasn't fought like any traditional space combat. The human fleet moved like a storm system, creating pockets of chaos that disrupted the Symmetrians' ability to coordinate. Each ship acted independently, following patterns that seemed random but were actually carefully choreographed pieces of a larger chaotic system. Lieutenant O'Connor's voice carried a note of excitement as he reported, "Their ships are starting to interfere with each other. They can't maintain formation without consistent computational patterns." The Prometheus dove through the heart of the Symmetrian fleet, its chaotic energy signature causing cascading failures in their perfectly ordered systems. Where the Symmetrians expected mathematical precision, they found unpredictable variables. Where they sought perfect harmony, they encountered deliberate discord. But the true turning point came when the Nexeri ships joined the battle, their typically perfect designs now modified with human-inspired chaos elements. The sight of their former prey now wielding chaos as a weapon seemed to create something akin to panic in the Symmetrian consciousness. Their entire existence is based on finding and enforcing patterns, Ambassador Luminara's hologram explained during the height of the battle. When faced with true chaos, they don't just fail, they begin to question their own nature. The Symmetrian fleet's perfect formation had completely broken down. Ships collided as their coordination systems failed, unable to process the flood of random data. Others simply stopped moving, their quantum processors caught in endless loops trying to find patterns in the deliberately patternless assault. "They're retreating," Naomi announced, watching as the mighty fleet began to withdraw. But not in formation. They're running. The sight of the Symmetrians fleeing in disarray sent a wave of jubilation through the human fleet. But it was the way they fled that told the true story of their defeat. Their retreat was chaotic, disorganized, everything they had spent eons trying to eliminate from the universe. In the aftermath, as the combined human and Nexeri fleet regrouped, Naomi stood on the Prometheus's bridge, watching the last traces of the Symmetrian ships vanish into fold space. "They'll be back," Vex warned, though his tone carried a new note of hope. "Yes," Naomi agreed, "but next time, they'll be facing an even more chaotic defense. Humanity is just getting started." At the Defense Institute, Raj and General Rodriguez were already analyzing the battle data, looking for ways to introduce even more unpredictability into their systems. The victory had proved their theory. Perfect order could be defeated by embracing imperfection. "You've changed everything," Ambassador Luminara told the assembled human leaders. "Not just the outcome of this battle, but perhaps the very course of galactic evolution. You've proven that chaos isn't a flaw to be corrected, it's a strength to be embraced." Would you like me to continue with the final part, where we'll explore the aftermath of the battle and its implications for both humanity and the galaxy at large? 6 months after the Battle of Sol, Earth had changed in ways few could have predicted. The victory over the Symmetrians hadn't just saved humanity. It had sparked a revolution in how intelligent life viewed itself and its place in the universe. The International Defense Research Institute had been transformed into the Center for Evolutionary Innovation, its halls now filled with scientists from dozens of species who had come to study what they called the human paradox. Dr. Raj Kumar found himself leading teams that explored not just technology, but the very nature of progress itself. "Look at this," he said to Ambassador Luminara, displaying a hologram of human DNA alongside Nexeri genetic structures. "We've discovered that the junk DNA in human genetics, the parts we thought were useless, actually create controlled chaos in our development. It's what allows us to adapt so quickly." Like cosmic background radiation, Luminara observed, her colors shifting thoughtfully. The universe's own form of creative noise. The implications went far beyond biology. Across Earth, cities were being rebuilt using principles of controlled chaos, structures that could adapt and evolve based on the needs of their inhabitants. The rigid grid patterns of the past were giving way to organic layouts that seemed random, but actually enhanced community interaction and resilience. Commander Naomi Tanaka had been promoted to admiral, now leading the newly formed Chaos Fleet. The Prometheus had become the template for a new generation of ships that deliberately incorporated random elements into their design. But more importantly, the fleet's success had attracted allies. Species that had hidden from the Symmetrians for millennia were now emerging, drawn to humanity's revolutionary approach to defense. We've received another request for asylum. Lieutenant O'Connor, now a captain, reported during a fleet coordination meeting. A species calling themselves the Meridians. They'd been running from the Symmetrians for over 1,000 years. Someone just tried to activate an unauthorized quantum reactor, Vex announced, his crystalline form pulsing with agitation. The energy signature. They were attempting to replicate our fold space drive technology. The next few hours were chaos. The unauthorized experiment had torn a hole in space-time. Small, but significant enough to be detected. More importantly, it had broadcast an energy signature that the Nexiri recognized all too well. In the emergency meeting that followed, Ambassador Luminara's hologram displayed colors that the translation matrix interpreted as deep concern. The energy spike would have been detected across thousands of light years. If the Symmetrians weren't aware of Earth before, they certainly are now. How long? General Rodriguez asked, her voice tight with controlled tension. Based on their last known positions, 6 months, perhaps less. The room erupted in accusations and arguments. Representatives from various nations pointed fingers, denied involvement, or demanded immediate access to more advanced weapons technology. It was Raj who finally cut through the chaos. "This changes nothing," he announced, his voice carrying enough authority to silence the room. "We knew they were coming eventually. Now we just have a deadline. The question is, what are we going to do with the time we have left?" Ambassador Luminara's colors shifted to something the translation matrix couldn't quite interpret. "We had not expected this response. My people would be paralyzed by such news." "Yeah, well, that's another human specialty," General Rodriguez replied with a grim smile. "We do our best work under pressure." The next weeks saw a transformation in the facility's operations. The cautious approach to technological integration was replaced by a calculated risk strategy. Raj worked with Vex to identify technologies that could be quickly adapted without drawing further attention, while General Rodriguez coordinated with military forces worldwide to prepare for what was coming. But it was during a late-night session with the Nexiri engineering team that Raj made a discovery that would change everything. He had been reviewing data from the unauthorized experiment, looking for ways to prevent similar incidents, when he noticed something odd in the readings. The spatial tear. It didn't follow any of the expected patterns, he muttered, drawing Vex's attention. "That would be due to the imperfections in their attempt," Vex replied. "The calculations were flawed." "Yes, but look at the energy dispersion pattern. It's chaotic, unpredictable, and completely invisible to your standard detection methods. We only spotted it because we were looking for it specifically." Vex's neural pathways pulsed rapidly as he processed the implications. "You're suggesting the Symmetrians search for patterns, right? Perfect mathematical harmony. What if that's not just their goal? What if it's their limitation?" The idea spread through the facility like wildfire. Human scientists and Nexiri engineers worked side by side, exploring the possibility that humanity's greatest weakness, their inability to achieve perfection, might be their greatest weapon against an enemy that couldn't comprehend imperfection. As the facility hummed with renewed purpose, Raj found himself standing with Ambassador Luminara, watching the controlled chaos of humans and Nexari working together. "We spent millennia trying to eliminate chaos from our existence," Luminara observed, her colors shifting through thoughtful patterns. "We saw it as a flaw to be corrected. Perhaps that was our greatest mistake." "Perfection is overrated," Raj replied with a smile. "Sometimes the best solutions are the messy ones. The countdown to the Symmetrians' arrival continued, but now there was something new in the air. Not just determination, but hope. Humanity was about to teach the galaxy a lesson about the power of imperfection and the true nature of evolution. They just had to survive long enough to deliver it. Commander Naomi Tanaka stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned NSS Prometheus, Earth's first starship built with hybrid human Nexeri technology. The vessel was a testament to both species' contributions, Nexeri quantum drives, and shield systems merged with human-designed combat systems that deliberately incorporated randomness and unpredictability into their targeting algorithms. "It's ugly," Lieutenant James O'Connor commented, running his hand along a console that looked more like modern art than military hardware. "But that's kind of the point, isn't it?" Naomi nodded, suppressing a smile. The ship's design had horrified the Nexeri engineers at first, where their vessels featured perfect geometric patterns and symmetrical layouts. The Prometheus was deliberately asymmetrical. Its power distribution network followed patterns based on lightning strikes and river deltas rather than mathematical efficiency. "Control room reports quantum drive is ready for first test," announced Technical Observer Vex, who had been assigned as the ship's liaison. "Though I must once again register my concern about the modifications." "Noted," Naomi replied, settling into the captain's chair. "Begin test sequence." The Prometheus's engines hummed to life, but not with the pure harmonics of a Nexeri vessel. Instead, they produced a discordant symphony that seemed to shift randomly between frequencies. It was music to Naomi's ears. The test was a success, though not in any way the Nexeri would have traditionally measured. The ship's energy signature was chaos incarnate, impossible to predict or track using conventional methods. More importantly, preliminary tests suggested that attempts to analyze its patterns caused quantum computational systems, like those used by the Symmetrians, to enter recursive loops trying to find order in the deliberate disorder. Back at the International Defense Research Institute, Raj Kumar was leading a different kind of preparation. Holographic displays showed the progress of what they dubbed Project Pandemonium, a network of satellites designed to create zones of pure chaos in space. "The concept is simple," he explained to a group of military leaders. "We're not trying to hide from the Symmetrians. We're trying to give them too much to process." Each satellite broadcasts signals based on everything from weather patterns to stock market fluctuations to children's drawings. General Rodriguez, who had become one of the project's strongest supporters, nodded in approval. "How many can we have in place before they arrive?" "At current production rates, we can cover the entire solar system in a web of chaos within 4 months. The Nexeri are helping us modify their manufacturing technologies to introduce controlled imperfections into each unit. No two satellites will produce exactly the same patterns." The preparation extended beyond military applications. Around the world, cities were being retrofitted with what came to be known as chaos generators, devices that created zones of unpredictable quantum fluctuations. The technology was based on a breakthrough discovery. The Symmetrians' consciousness existed partly in quantum space, making them vulnerable to disruptions in quantum fields. But it was in the human response to the crisis that the true power of chaos revealed itself. Rather than imposing strict military discipline, the defense forces were encouraged to innovate and improvise. Combat simulations incorporated elements of dance and sports. Tactical doctrine was influenced by everything from jazz music to abstract expressionism. "Your people continue to surprise us," Ambassador Luminera observed during a strategic planning session. "We expected panic, rigid military response, attempts to match the Symmetrians' perfection. Instead, we're leaning into what makes us human," General Rodriguez finished. "Unpredictable, adaptable, and just a little bit crazy." The Nexeri had also begun to change, influenced by their time among humans. Their originally perfect crystalline structures started showing signs of controlled imperfection. Some even began experimenting with asymmetrical designs in their technology, finding that the introduction of chaos often led to unexpected improvements. 3 months into the preparation, the first long-range sensors detected what they'd been waiting for. The Symmetrian fleet, moving through space in perfect geometric formations. But unlike the fear that had gripped the Nexeri, humanity's response was almost eager anticipation. Commander Tanaka was running battle drills with the Prometheus when the alert came through. The exercises they'd been practicing weren't traditional military maneuvers. They were recreations of natural phenomena. The unpredictable paths of butterflies, the chaos of storm systems, the random beauty of solar flares. They're still 2 months out, Raj reported during an emergency briefing. But their approach pattern is perfect. Too perfect. Good, General Rodriguez replied, surprising the Nexeri representatives. Perfect means predictable. And predictable we can work with. I begin to wonder if we were wrong about evolution's true path. As the first month drew to a close, Earth's nations reached a consensus. They would grant the Nexeri sanctuary, but under conditions that would preserve humanity's independence while allowing for gradual technological integration. It was an arrangement born of necessity but fostered by hope. The real work was just beginning. Somewhere in the vast darkness between the stars, the Symmetrians continued their relentless march toward perfect order. But they would soon learn that the universe had more to offer than mathematical precision. It had the beautiful chaos of human ingenuity and the determination of a species that had survived countless challenges by embracing its imperfections. Isabella stood at her observatory window, watching the Nexeri ship glinting in the moonlight. "We're not ready for this," she whispered to herself. "No species ever is." Luminara's hologram appeared beside her. But readiness isn't about perfection, it's about adaptation. And in that, Dr. Torres, your people may be more prepared than any civilization we've encountered. The stars seemed different now, their light carrying both promise and warning. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, not as conquerors or victims, but as guardians of something the Symmetrians could never understand: the power of beautiful imperfection. The first signs of the Nexeri's technological integration appeared gradually. Solar panels that operated at impossible efficiencies began appearing on rooftops. Quantum communication networks slowly replaced traditional internet infrastructure. But it was in the hidden facilities beneath the world's deserts and mountains where the real breakthroughs were happening. Dr. Raj Kumar stood in the central chamber of the International Defense Research Institute, watching as Nexeri engineers worked alongside human scientists. His role as head of technological integration meant walking a delicate line between advancement and restraint. Every piece of technology they adapted had to be carefully considered. Progress too fast, and they'd draw the Symmetrians' attention. Too slow, and they wouldn't be ready when they inevitably arrived. The energy conversion matrices are adapting well to your power grid, Technical Observer Vex announced, his crystalline form catching the light as he manipulated a holographic display. Unlike Ambassador Luminara, Vex had chosen to maintain his natural form, a being of translucent tissues and bioluminescent neural pathways. Though your methods of implementation are unexpected. Raj smiled, recognizing the familiar tone of bewilderment in the alien's voice. You mean because we're using gaming console processors to help manage the load? Among other things, Vex's neural pathways flickered in what Raj had learned to recognize as amusement. Your species has a remarkable talent for finding unconventional solutions. It's inefficient, but effective. Story of human history, Raj replied, pulling up his own data displays. We rarely find the perfect solution, but we're really good at finding ones that work just well enough to get the job done. The facility had become a melting pot of human and Nexeri innovation. In one corner, Japanese engineers were adapting Nexeri quantum shielding technology using principles borrowed from origami. Nearby, Brazilian scientists had somehow managed to improve the efficiency of Nexeri power cells by introducing controlled imperfections into their crystalline structure, a modification that had left their alien counterparts both baffled and intrigued. But not everyone was celebrating this exchange of knowledge. In the facility's conference room, General Helena Rodriguez of the United Nations Defense Council was reviewing intelligence reports with growing concern. Several nations are developing their own programs in secret, she informed Raj during their daily briefing. They're trying to reverse engineer Nexeri technology without the safety protocols we agreed upon. If they succeed, they'll paint a target on all of us, Raj finished, rubbing his temples. Have you informed Ambassador Luminara? She knows. The Nexeri are concerned, not just about the technological risks, but about what it reveals about our species. Before Raj could respond, the facility's alerts began blaring. Red warning lights bathed the complex as technicians rushed to their stations. A holographic display materialized in the center of the room, showing a massive energy spike originating from somewhere in the South China Sea. Tell them they're welcome, Naomi replied with a smile, as long as they're willing to embrace a little chaos. The Nexeri had undergone perhaps the most dramatic transformation. Their once perfect crystalline forms now showed deliberate variations, their technology incorporating random elements that made it more resilient and adaptable. Young Nexeri were being encouraged to experiment, to make mistakes, to find beauty in imperfection. We thought evolution meant moving toward perfect order, Vex explained to a group of human students at the new Interspecies Academy. You showed us that true evolution requires both order and chaos, working in balance. But not all was peaceful. The Symmetrians' retreat had sparked debate among the galaxy's emerging species. Some feared that embracing chaos would lead to destruction. Others saw it as the key to surviving in a universe that was inherently unpredictable. General Rodriguez, now heading the United Earth Defense Council, addressed these concerns during the first Galactic Assembly on Earth. The Symmetrians weren't wrong about the importance of patterns, she explained. Their mistake was believing that patterns must be perfect to have value. Life thrives in the balance between order and chaos. The assembly chamber itself reflected this philosophy. Its architecture incorporated both mathematical precision and deliberate irregularities, creating spaces that somehow felt both organized and organic. Representatives from 24 species sat in arrangements that looked random but actually optimized communication and understanding. We're tracking Symmetrian movements in the Carina Arm, Raj reported during a security briefing. They're changing. The fleet that retreated from Earth is causing disruption in their perfect society. Some of their ships are showing signs of asymmetry. They're evolving, Luminara realized, her colors displaying patterns that the translation matrix now interpreted as profound hope. Our chaos is infectious. The greatest change, however, was in humanity's understanding of its own nature. What they had once seen as flaws, their unpredictability, their tendency to improvise, their embrace of imperfection, they now recognized as essential elements of their strength. In the Prometheus's observation deck, Admiral Tanaka stood with Captain O'Connor, watching Earth's chaotic defense grid shimmer against the backdrop of space. The satellites no longer moved in predictable orbits, but danced in complex patterns that seemed random yet served a deeper purpose. You know what the real victory was? She mused. Not defeating the Symmetrians, but proving that perfection isn't the end goal of evolution. Adaptation is. Makes you wonder what's next, O'Connor replied, gesturing toward the stars. Now that we've changed the rules of the game. The answer was already emerging. Across the galaxy, species that had spent millennia pursuing perfect order were beginning to experiment with chaos. The Symmetrians' influence was waning, replaced by a new understanding that true strength lay not in achieving perfection, but in maintaining the dynamic balance between order and chaos. Earth had become more than a sanctuary. It was now a beacon, showing the galaxy a new path forward. The human factor, once dismissed as a weakness, had proven to be the key to unlocking the next stage of cosmic evolution. In the Center for Evolutionary Innovation's main hall, a new inscription had been placed, written in every known galactic language. Perfection is stagnation. Evolution thrives in the beautiful space between order and chaos. As humanity looked to the stars, They no longer saw a universe that needed to be understood and controlled. Instead, they saw an infinite canvas of possibilities, where imperfection wasn't a flaw to be corrected, but a tool for endless adaptation and growth. The age of perfect order was over. The era of beautiful chaos had begun. And somewhere in the vast darkness between the stars, even the Symmetrians were beginning to change, learning that true harmony didn't require perfect symmetry. It required the courage to embrace the unexpected, the random, the beautifully flawed. The universe, in all its chaotic glory, continued its eternal dance, and humanity led the way in teaching the galaxy how to dance along with it.